Ready? I'd like to call the November the 4th meeting to order, please. Mr. Powell, if you would lead us in prayer, and Mr. Clayton, if you would lead us in the pledge, please.
If you desire, would you pray with me, please? Merciful God, we give you praise and honor for the day you've given and the night and the meeting that we have tonight. Pray your divine guidance in our thoughts and actions tonight. May they be within your will and in the best interest of the people of Person County. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Let us stand, face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Everybody satisfied with the agenda? I need to change anything? Not, I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
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 All right, any opposed? Okay. Mr. Aycock, if you would give us a little prelude here on the first public hearing.
Yes, so there is a public hearing on the consideration of adoption of a franchise ordinance for Upper Piedmont Regional Landfill, which is owned and operated by Republic Services of NC, LLC. The board has received an application for the franchise supported by the contract that was approved at your last board meeting. The law requires a public hearing and some information about the proposed franchise landfill. That information is that the landfill is located at 9650 Oxford Road, Rougemont, NC. All the information required by law to be in the franchise ordinance is in that proposed ordinance before you. It includes a statement of the population to be served and a description of the geographic area, a description of the volume and characteristics of the waste stream, a projection of the useful life of the sanitary landfill, an explanation of the franchise's consistency with the county solid waste management plan, procedures for county oversight and regulation of fees and rates, and a physical facility plan with details of the characteristics of the landfill. All this information has been on file for public view, both in the county manager's office and in the public library for the required period of time. The board is required by law, when they consider this, in order to adopt it at two separate board meetings. If you have the public hearing, take up this issue, and choose to adopt, you would need to adopt it for a second time at your next meeting.
Okay. Do I have a motion to go and open the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Is there anybody signed up to speak?
Yes, sir. We have two individuals signed up to speak in favor of and no one to speak in opposition to.
Okay.
The first speaker is Ms. Margie Staley.
For years, I heard negative things about the landfill. And one of my big problems, and one of the things that I was objecting to, was the fact that people said we were not, as citizens, ever allowed there. Everything was done in secret, and we weren't supposed to see what was going on. Well, the landfill is now, I believe, under new management or new, people have changed there. And I saw in the paper, I guess it was about a year ago, that we were invited to a barbecue there at the landfill as residents. And my husband and I went just for the heck of it, not expecting to find what we found. And what we found was a modern, clean facility. We took the tour, Chris took us on the tour around, and it was lovely. I also found out by questioning that they are very much a part of our community in donating to different things like our library, which I was not aware of. I don't know why we weren't made aware of that before, but we weren't. And learning all these things made me change my opinion completely. And I'm part of the Uptown Roxborough group, and this past year they have sponsored our cruisins, generously donated to them. And my opinion is right now that they are great partners, and we should continue this wonderful relationship that we're starting to develop with them. And I think it could work out very well for everybody concerned. Thank you.
Thank you.
The second speaker is Mr. Shane Walker of Charlotte.
And I'll be brief. I just wanted to step up and thank the commissioners for your hard work during this process. And as the nice lady just mentioned, you have our commitment to continue to be a good partner, a good neighbor, and we look forward to serving the needs of the county for a long time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here that wants to speak to this issue, either for or against, doesn't matter? Any-
Motion to come out of public hearing?
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're back in regular session. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Do you need any specific language, Mr. Attorney?
Okay. Any discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Takes care of that. I need a motion to go into public hearing again for change of name of Foxwood Drive to Forest Drive.
Move to go in public hearing?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're in public hearing. Does anybody want to speak to that? Sally, you want
And actually, no one did sign up to speak
to? Okay,
in favor or in opposition to.
all right.
Good evening, Commissioners. Foxwood Drive is a private road in a small subdivision near the airport in Timberlake. The address and street name problem began when the subdivision was laid out in 2001. Foxcroft Drive, Hunters Lane, East Foxwood Drive, and Foxwood Drive were proposed and recorded. Since that time, residents of Foxwood Drive have had issues with mail delivery packages and 911 service because East Foxwood and Foxwood practically have the same name. And the streets are across from each other. The residents of this street recently became so frustrated with these issues that they took it upon themselves to draw a map of the right addresses on poster board and hang it up from the street signs. A for effort. So a recent life-threatening EMS call in the neighborhood spurred us to approach the neighborhood about fixing this issue permanently. Myself, Zach Wynn in the GIS department, and 2 members of Timberlake Fire Department made contact with each household on the street. Ultimately, one resident who lives on a corner lot decided to change his address to the adjoining street where his driveway attaches. The other 5 agreed to change their addresses to Forest Drive, and 4 of those 5 households, or 80%, returned the signed documentation to us, which 75% is required. Changing this road name from the ambiguous Foxwood Drive to Forest Drive will enhance emergency response and take the confusion out of mail and package delivery. So I would recommend that you would approve the motion to change the name of Foxwood Drive to Forest Drive.
Question.
Yes, sir.
If I'm not mistaken, there's a Forest Drive down just past the fire station at Longhurst.
It's,
Turns back to the left there.
That would be Roxborough, wouldn't it?
it would, and so we
This is
can.
Timberlake.
Yes, that is correct. And so if there's a distance between the two, we can repeat a name. We'd prefer not to, but that was the name that the residents really preferred in that area, so we gave them that concession.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Sally?
Move for approval.
All right, need a motion to come out of public hearing?
I'm sorry.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, what's the pleasure?
Move for approval.
All right, any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any approved? Object? All right, thank you. Anybody sign up for?
Yes, sir. We have 3 individuals wishing to make public comments. The first one is Jessica Aguilar.
You gonna limit them on time? You gonna limit them on time?
How many we got? All right, this is supposed to be 10 minutes, take 3 minutes, please.
Susie.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Jessica Aguilar. My family and I are new to this area. We just recently moved into Person County about 3 months ago. My husband's prior battalion chief of special operations in Orange County for Orange County Rescue. Upon moving to this area, we immediately started looking for a fire rescue department to join. We are living on Bethel Hill School Road, which is part of the Woodsdale Fire Department district. We are familiar with the background, and just for your reference, I'm speaking on item number 6. We are familiar with a few of the issues that Woodsdale Fire Department has faced recently. But upon joining Woodsdale Fire Department, there was called an emergency vote to seat board of directors members, now 100% from the community, and bringing us into compliance with the state where 3 members have to be firefighters and 3 members have to be community members, not of the firefighters. There are now 19 community members on the roster. We have certified instructors are now on our roster so that we can bring all of our volunteers up to state standards and hopefully surpassing minimum standards to best practice as far as their certifications go. We have members now on the roster who are familiar with the firehouse reporting, where we can report all calls directly to the state. Those will be submitted weekly so that we can track our call reporting or responding. Responder certification files are now being maintained. Individual responders, we are pushing certification and recertification and hoping to host those in-house now that we have that capability. We are looking to improve overall on the station, the vehicles and the equipment, tracking and maintenance on everything, and definitely hoping to further community engagement of that entity. I'm open to any further questions. Our interest is to maintain that history and the connection to the community that that department already has. As I say, poor things have happened in the past, but we now have people who have the credentials to make sure that moving forward, we maintain state standards and hopefully surpass any community expectations.
All right, thank you.
The next speaker is Christina Rasker. Is this for item number 6? This is the time to make comments for that item, yes.
My name is Christina Royster. How are y'all doing? Basically, I just have a complaint I would like to have noted concerning this Woodsdale Fire Department. I live on Royster Clay Road. I'm part of the community. And I've noticed in keeping up with this that several of the county employees who are tax-based, paid, and are helping or providing services to the opposition of the old Woodsdale Department by giving them advice, writing legal documents, and giving them certain issues that they need to get settled, but that makes a conflict of interest that I feel, because if the county attorney is helping them with their issues, he can't help me, and I'm a taxpayer too. But the fire department is a nonprofit. It's not a nonprofit. It's a situation. It's a business, and we're providing the services. We don't collect membership dues and members. So I feel it's wrong that a county attorney can place legal matters on for them, and it's a conflict of interest that he can't. It would be for him to do it for me. So I asked that that the commissioners and the attorney and the emergency management services director that have been assisting with them, and I can't call them Woodsdale Volunteer Fire Department because they did not have any rights to vote. They were just citizens. That they recluse themselves from their actions in this debate. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last speaker is Mr. Jack Nichols.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Jack Nichols. I'm an attorney in Raleigh. And as Mr. Aycock knows, I was a county commissioner in Wake County back in the 90s and was chair of the Public Safety Committee and had to deal with issues like this, so I know what it's like when you're sitting on your side of the table. I have to say in my years as commissioner, I did not have to deal with the issue that you're faced with today, which is competing nonprofit organizations. Part of my law practice is representing nonprofits, and I've represented nonprofits that have been both in dispute, and I had the unfortunate situation where I represented one half of a nonprofit board against another. That was a messy case. I hope that that's not going to happen here, but our law firm has been retained by what we understand to be the valid Woodsdale Fire Department Board of Directors, and we've been dealing with Greg Freeman and Mr. Womack, and we understand that they're the duly constituted members. Based on what the previous speaker said about the other group that met today, I have no knowledge of that. We weren't contacted about that. I don't know anything about the procedures of that meeting, but it may be that we'll have to file a lawsuit and have the courts adjudicate it. But I would hasten to add that that's not your responsibility. You will have a problem, I know, because I've sat in your chair, about what to do with the money that belongs to the fire district, and that's a problem. But I think I would say that until you know who the valid authority is to receive that, it would be appropriate to just keep that money in some sort of escrow. By the way, we are the agency that has filed the appeal with the state, and as far as I know, our appeal has been accepted. I'd be glad to respond to any questions.
This is a public comment period. We don't have a debate at this time.
I understand. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you. Is that it? All right. Item number 5. Anybody got anything at the consent agenda they want to pull out and talk about?
Move for approval.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, Mr. Aycock, if you would get us started on our debate of the evening.
The board considered at its last meeting a resolution regarding the Woodsdale Volunteer Fire Department. At that time, the then president of the, I'll call it the new Board of Directors, presented to you a report from 4 or 5 of his board members asking you not to take action on the resolution. You deferred this resolution until tonight. After the board meeting 2 weeks ago, the county board meeting, the new board met and elected a new president who is here tonight. I understand the new president is here to represent to you that the board of the new Woodsdale Volunteer Fire Department requests you to act positively on this resolution. The resolution, as you recall from the last meeting, set forth the understanding of events that have occurred within the last month. Those events include a calling by a member of the Woodsdale community of a special meeting of the members of the Woodsdale Volunteer Fire Department. As I have seen the bylaws and charter of the Woodsdale Volunteer Fire Department, it provides that the members are residents and owners of property within the district. At that meeting, called on October 3rd, I believe more than 80 residents were in attendance. They heard from the convener of the meeting the concerns that had occurred with the department. That meeting then took several actions, one action of which was to dismiss the existing board of directors and to elect a new slate of board members. It is, in my opinion, it sounds much like a shareholders meeting of a corporation where the shareholders change the board of directors. If you recognize the new board of directors, you will be in effect saying that it's your opinion that the new board of directors represents the governing body of the volunteer fire department. The governing board met, I understand, the facts suggest that the governing board met after the resolution, that after the appointment and election of that new board, and took action to request recognition from this board. The elected officers. The then president of that new board came to you last Monday, 2 weeks ago, and suggested that you not take the action. Then the new board met the following day or so from the Monday you were requested not to take action, and elected a new president, and that board reiterated its desire for you to recognize it. That board's president is here now. Mr. Nichols is absolutely correct in that there was an appeal filed with the state by the old board, and then a subsequent complementary appeal filed by the new board. It's important that that appeal be pending in order to allow the residents in that district to have the benefit of the 9S classification by the state. When the state took action to decertify the existing operation, that action is suspended so long as an appeal is pending. So long as the appeal is pending, it is suspended, the decertification, and the residents retain the 9S classification. The appeal of both old board and new board has been accepted by the state. The interest of the county, I believe, is to make sure the 9S classification continues, and the interest of the board is to ensure that the residents in the district have the benefit of fire protection. So the action requested of you in the resolution is threefold: that you recognize the new board as the official governing board of the Woodsdale Volunteer Fire Department. 2, that you authorize the county staff and the attorney to be able to provide assistance to the new board during the transition. And 3, that you authorize contract amendments with the volunteer fire department where some funding could be dispersed per individual invoice or written request for payment as needed and coordinated through the county's emergency services director, so long as the board is making progress on current contract requirements and moving forward to ensure service in the district. It has been a long process. The community has met in a very large meeting and took the action that I have reported to you today.
Mr. Aycock, you spoke to the bylaws explaining what a member is for the district. In those bylaws, how many members are supposed to be on the board?
As I remember, there are required to be 12 members with 1/4 coming due every 3 years, 3-year terms staggered different.
So we were told by, I believe, the president of the old board, Mr. Womack, that those bylaws have been changed. In order for those bylaws to be changed to the new number, which I believe I heard tonight is 6 members, 3 including some fire personnel, wouldn't they have had to have a meeting of the community to change those bylaws? And do we know if that meeting was held?
I have no knowledge of whether that meeting was held. As I read the bylaws and corporate charter on file with the state, it requires that any amendment to those bylaws be done at a membership meeting.
I will ask the question to the chief, or the old chief to the fire department, if that meeting was held, and if so, when and where, and did membership come? I mean, to
Could you
change,
come forward, Mr. Royster? Could you come forward and speak?
Mr. Womack, I believe, told us last meeting that the bylaws have been changed not to reflect 12 members of the board, but to maybe 6, what I think Ms. Aguilar spoke to earlier. When was those bylaws changed, and was it a membership of the community? A meeting of the community?
We had a meeting with our members last night. And then we had a meeting with myself, Mr. Womack, and the former member earlier this morning. And we did go ahead and take amend it and then add on new members for the board this
So we
morning.
met 2 Mondays ago when Mr. Womack told us these were changed, but you're saying you all met last night, not prior to our meeting that we held in October.
We picked up members last night, and then we voted on them this morning.
These are members, you mean, as far as fire personnel. I'm speaking of a membership meeting with the community.
No, we have not had a membership meeting with the community.
Do we have anything coming from you all to explain an audit form or records to show where the county's $123,871 that was distributed to you all last year has been spent?
The auditor is still, has that, and they are still working on it, and we are trying to take in contact, and we haven't heard anything back from them yet.
Which auditor are you working with?
They're from Zebulon, I cannot call the name at present.
Thank you.
All right. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve the resolution working with the new board, presented by Mrs. Dunn.
All right, we got a motion? Is there any
I got a
discussion?
question. I want to ask the attorney, all these fire departments in the county, when they meet and change officers and do different things, we don't even know that they've changed officers and met. They do that, they're nonprofits. So they can change their officers anytime they decide that they want to meet and have them. So the attorney was talking to us a while ago about the old board, but the new board, if they file the appeal that I just saw in here, I believe it was on October the 6th, But if the new board filed an appeal and they had new members on the board, the fact that that we've got a new board that's an issue between the members of the Woodsdale community, not the Board of County Commissioners. Am I correct?
As I understand your question, Mr. Clayton, it's whether or not this board has authority to change the membership of a nonprofit corporation board. The answer is no. That change or any amendment is governed by the corporation law and governed by the organic documents, the bylaws and charter of that corporation. So this board has no authority to change. This board has the right to decide to which board, to which governing authority it wishes to recognize and provide funds to. I'm not sure I answered your question. I sort of recast it, but
I think you answered it, but so the situation is, if the old board don't like the new board being voted in, and they want to take legal action against them, it's none of our business.
if there's a conflict between the new board and the old board, it is not a matter for this county to be involved in. This county's involvement is which board is the governing authority for which it wants to contract with and to provide funds to.
So this resolution recognizes who we are working with and who we're contracting with, which is the new board,
Yes, sir.
which I think is the way it should be. How can we contract or work with an old board who has received over $100,000 of county's taxpayers' money, and we have no idea how they've been spent? And then the state comes into a meeting and tells us that they're not even meeting certifications to be a department. So we created a fire tax to help the citizens by funding these departments more money to lower the ISO rating, and here we have a department that is threatening to lose the rating that they have. So I don't know how we could contract or work with anybody from that old board. And per their own bylaws, they didn't even have a board. Their bylaws said they had 12. The chief tells you they didn't have a community meeting to change those bylaws, so where are those 12 people? Mr. Womack mentioned some people that were on their board. Since then, one of those people have already called me and said he doesn't know why his name is being mentioned as a board member, because he's been to 2 meetings, hadn't been any since the state came in. And so he doesn't know why his name is being mentioned.
Mr. Aycock, I think one of the requests we had at the last meeting was you to get with the state and see what their determination was going to be?
Yes, sir.
Have they made?
They have made no determination. I have contacted the Assistant Attorney General at the board's direction to let him know of what was going on and to ask that question. His response is, it is a matter for the appeal, and they cannot tell us what will happen until the appeal occurs.
Okay. Well, my main concern is that the community not lose their
Yes, sir.
fire rating,
Yes, sir.
because that would upset a lot of people's budgets.
I think, Mr. Chairman, so long as the state accepts the appeal from either or both, the 9S rating will continue. In fact, it is my understanding that the state has sent an acknowledgement of the appeals to both boards. So it appears that whichever, the appeal will be pending and the 9S will be retained until disposition of the appeal.
All right, with that said, is there an actual need for us to vote to either be for or against either one?
That's a policy decision for you, but my understanding from discussion at your last meeting was that you wished that this 9S rating continue and that rating needed to be continued through some process, and you had more confidence in the new board than you did the old board. That's your policy decision.
Well, the only thing that comes to mind now is if we side with one or the other, and the other one prevails, I guess we have to come back and have another resolution.
If you were to decide that you were going to recognize the new board, then if you adopt this resolution, you would be instructing the county staff to try to work with that board to ensure continuation of service and the rating. If the old board, as suggested by Mr. Nichols, files a lawsuit, and there is success in that lawsuit, then, and a judicial determination is that the proper board is the old board, then you'd have to come back and consider whether you wanted to contract with the old board. But again, both policy decisions, in both cases, so long as the state continues to accept appeals from both sides, the 9S will continue until disposition of the appeal.
All right,
If there is a lawsuit, contrary to what has been suggested by one of the members of the old board, your county attorney does not and will not represent either side. It will be up to both boards to engage their own attorneys and to pay for them from whatever funds they can secure.
Is it appropriate use of county funds for legal representation?
If the question is, should the county funds be used to prosecute the appeal, to defend actions taken or actions that did not occur, then it would be a question in my mind whether or not that is a public purpose for the use of county funds to defend action that was not taken, which resulted in decertification. I have a real question whether public funds could be used for that purpose.
Can we ask for our money back until it gets resolved?
That's for that 123,000.
Yes, sir, you can ask. I'm not sure whether you can receive, but you can ask.
I look at it like this. We instituted a fire tax, which those citizens and residents of Woodsdale are paying as well. And we put that tax in place, even though they have fire protection because we contract through the city of Roxborough. Somebody's coming. But we've put that in place to assist the volunteer fire departments. And here we have a fire department that, per the state, where they came here and told us, is not meeting their responsibilities. So I look at this resolution as working with the new board, identifying that board, and then, as it's stated, per invoice or whatever submittal, if we need to use some of those fire tax funds that those residents have paid to assist this new board in maintaining the 9S rating or continuing fire protection in that community, then that is appropriate use, in my mind, as a policymaker, as an elected policymaker. That is acceptable use of those funds, because those residents paid that fire tax.
What would be the process of disbursements of funds? Would this board approve every line item that came across? Or the way this reads is you have Doug, the request will come to Doug, and it really doesn't go any further than that. So explain the process of how funds would be approved when requests are presented.
Our intention was that, yes, they would submit something in writing so that we could see what the need was and ensure that it was an appropriate use of taxpayers' money and that it would help further provide adequate fire services for Woodsdale. So we wanted to have some oversight of that. The way that the contracts are currently administered, we do not typically receive an invoice and pay for operating expenses. We've done some of that with their capital needs, but we wanted Doug to have the opportunity to review those requests, and then we would pay that ourselves without an exchange of funds.
Which I feel is appropriate since we only meet twice a month.
Mr. Attorney, let's establish as many facts as we can.
I'm sorry, sir.
I said, let's try to establish as many facts as we can. The current board, which you refer to as the old board, is in complete breach of contract.
The old board.
The old,
It's the
what,
old
the one that I
one.
referred to as the old board, the one that Mr. Nichols represents, according to the state, has failed to conform to state requirements, and a determination by this county has failed to abide by the contractual requirements of this county. Yes.
And we have served notice to that effect.
We have provided notice as specified in the contract between the county and the Woodsdale Volunteer Fire Department. Yes.
Say, so regardless of who prevails in this, we don't have a contract with Woodsdale anymore. So we're going to have to start from scratch with whoever survives, I guess.
No, sir, I don't think that to be the case. I talked with the attorney for the state, and he suggests to me that in order for the state to continue to keep the 9S in place, there needs to be a contract. There is a contract. The county has given notice to the Woodsdale Volunteer Fire Department that it is in violation of the contract. It is not said that the contract is void. It is said that it is in violation. So the contract remains in force, subject to what you say here. So there will be a contract. If we don't have a contract, then I was told by the state's attorney general the effect of not having a county contract would be the immediate cessation of the 9S designation. The action suggested before you does not affect the contract. It says it continues. You should keep in mind that what you are doing here if you recognize the new board, you're still contracting with Woodsdale Volunteer Fire Department Incorporated. You've just changed the governing board that you're dealing with. Same entity, new governing board. Much like if after an election, you may change sitting up there, but contracts with the county continue. You're just a new governing board governing those contracts.
That's what I was getting at a while ago.
All right, so if this winds up in front of a judge, how long is this going to be in limbo?
Well, we don't know. We don't know how long it would be in limbo. But the judge would be determining who is the proper governing board. It would not be determining whether Woodsdale Incorporated existed or not. It's just who is the governing board. Ought not to have an effect during the pendency of any lawsuit of the pendency of the appeal to the state and therefore the continuation of 9S. In a sense, if the old board files a lawsuit against the new board, that's a controversy going on the side in court as to who is a proper governing board. The entity itself, Woodsdale Volunteer Fire Department Incorporated, continues, whoever is in control of it, and that is still in appeal and pending before the state.
So what is your recommendation?
Again, your policy...
We've got a motion on the floor, but I'd like to know what your recommendation is.
It appears to me that you have had an outpouring from the community to say, please change. You've had over 100 people at that meeting, I understand, in the community, and they have, in effect, asked you to approve the new board.
People that paid a fire.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
you asked for a legal opinion, I'll give you my opinion.
Good.
I would like to commend the citizens of that fire district and what they have done in reorganizing here. They've taken control of a dysfunctional board and department to make it a viable department, to take care of the safety and well-being of the people in that community. And I would certainly go along with the resolution as stated and the recommendation of our county attorney.
My question, could you come forward, please?
I need to withdraw my motion for you to allow her to comment.
Are
Did you want to speak? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Could you state your name, please?
My name is Lori Dunn. I'm the newly elected president of the Board of Directors for Woodsdale Fire Department. Our board has met since your last meeting, and at that time, we unified our focus to carry out the wishes expressed by the community at our membership meeting on October 3rd. I've asked some fellow board members to be here tonight, if you all could stand, just to represent to you all that we are a unified body. We are here tonight as a unified body, and we respectfully request that you adopt the resolution to allow us to protect our insurance rating and take necessary steps to continue services to the district. And we thank you for your consideration.
All right, question. Are there any calls being run out of Woodsdale Fire Department now?
I do not know. We have repeatedly asked to meet with the former board. They have consistently refused to meet with us, so there has been no information sharing.
Okay.
I have heard tell of medical calls going unanswered, and I am unaware of any fire calls.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, we got a motion on the floor. Is any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that means we have approved the resolution to work with the new board. I would like to also offer a motion that we not write any more checks to either one without this board voting on it. Just so we don't put y'all in the middle of a bad situation.
Does that mean we're going to have?
So you would like me to hold off on payment of any bills until this
Why
board?
don't you put a limit on it? Put a,
Yes.
instead of anything,
Pay bills for a while now.
put something, a
A monetary amount?
Monetary amount on it.
Well, I think we just voted not to give any money to the old board.
We're not paying any,
We'll bring the bills to y'all, that's all. We'll bring them to y'all.
The way it is written now, they have to present an invoice
that's
to
right.
the. before it's
We're
paid,
not
yeah.
allocating any funds to them. We're retaining the funds within the county.
Well,
And we
withdraw
will-
my motion.
Would need an invoice or a request for a specific amount for a specific purpose reviewed by Doug.
All right. Okay, item number 7. Chris, if you'd come forward and tell us what you got.
Good evening, Commissioners. At its meeting on September 23rd, the Board adopted a resolution declaring 2 strands of dark fiber as surplus property and authorized a published notice of intent to enter into a lease agreement per North Carolina General Statute 168-272 upon approval at tonight's meeting. Staff are continuing to work with our consultant as well as River Street to finalize the lease agreement to bring before the Board at a later date. So we are requesting that tonight you defer any authorization to a future board meeting. We do, however, want to update you with the progress thus far. The original grant agreement with Person County was executed on March 30th, 2017, and allows River Street access to 2 strands of fiber at no charge until the grant agreement expires on March 30th, 2021. The current request from River Street is to pay Person County a combined lease and maintenance fee of $1,686.90 per month for 84 months, or $20,242.80 annually for 7 years, beginning on April 1st, 2021. The acceptance of monthly payments extends the maintenance period for 2 years and nets the county an additional $18,200 in total revenue for accepting those monthly payments. So essentially, at first, we were looking at a one-time upfront lease fee that would be paid in a lump sum. Their request is that we extend that over an 84-month period or 7 years so that they have a little more time for cash flow purposes. Still the same amount of money as far as that's concerned, no change in the actual fee itself. It's just the duration for how long you receive those funds and over a longer period. If there are no objections to these terms, staff will finalize the lease agreement and bring it to you for approval at your first December meeting.
All right. Any questions for Chris? Do I hear a motion?
Move for approval.
We actually don't need any action. This was just for informational purposes only.
Okay, so you already,
Yep, we just wanted to confirm that everyone was on board with the numbers and terms.
Okay.
And as long as everyone's okay with that, that there's nothing that we need to change, we'll draft the finalized agreement, get River Street to confirm all those pieces as well, and we'll bring it to you hopefully at your first December meeting.
gotcha.
For your final approval.
All right,
All right? Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, item number 8, Brenda.
I'd like to present to you citizen applications for consideration of nomination and appointment on the following 2 committees. The first one is the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. There has not been a representative attending the JCPC meetings due to changes in the staff for the district attorney's office. A letter was sent to them requesting representation. Ms. Elisa Black, Assistant District Attorney, has submitted an application to serve in the seat representing the DA's office. Could I ask for action or nomination from the board at this time to appoint Ms. Elisa Black to serve in that seat on the JCPC for a 2-year term?
Move for approval.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
And the second board is related to the Recreation Advisory Board. The Recreation Advisory Board, through its own ordinance, advised one of its members, Ms. Dawn Wright, that her appointment has been rescinded due to excessive absenteeism. This vacancy was advertised on the county website, and an application was received by Dr. Rodney Peterson. So I would ask the board to consider his application to fulfill the unexpired term through June 30th, 2020.
Do we know him?
Move for approval.
all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Thank you, that's all I have.
okay. Item number 9.
Mr. Chairman, I heard Mr. Perea talking about a couple of the commissioners meeting with Sig Hutchison, and he wanted to come up here and talk about his trails and greenways initiatives, and that had to do with the old railroad right-of-way between here and Durham. And I particularly wanted to be at that meeting because I know him, and the clerk says if there's 3 of us there, that's going to be a public meeting. Now, he wants to come up here and talk to us about it, and
I would like for you and Ray to do that if you would. And I'll just get a report from y'all.
is that all right with you, Ray?
That way
That's
we.
fine.
Is that all right with the rest of the board?
All right. Okay. Chairman's report, I don't have anything tonight. Heidi, you got anything you want to add? Oh, excuse me, I do have one thing I want to. I've asked Heidi to investigate the possibility of the senior center being able to rent property. They've got a community house, if you want to call it. It used to be the church when they had the fitness center there. That is something that somebody could generate probably a couple $1,000s a month off of. And as it stands right now, I don't think that they can rent that without our approval.
Right, you're asking for them to have the ability to sublease their
Yes.
current space to other tenants on short-term basis, which would require an amendment to their current contract, which goes through the COG board first.
Okay.
So I'm working on that, if that's the desire
So
of
you
the
mean more
board.
like a permanent space? Like someone who wanted an office there?
No. Mm-mm, for somebody to have a weekend
Meeting and stuff
event,
like that or
meeting, yeah.
Right now, they don't have the ability to contract out
They have
that
lots of
space.
meetings there, but they don't charge anything for them.
Well, that's one of my committees, and if you look at the revenue source, it is, they're getting along with it, but that's, a wasted asset, in my opinion, for somebody not to be collecting some revenue.
Similar
also.
to what we had done with PCC when they were leasing our workforce development space. They wanted the ability to sublease that space, so we needed a contract amendment, so that would follow the same.
Now, you're saying lease. I'm thinking long-term. You're saying like
Rental
somebody comes
contract.
and rents this for the weekend.
Right.
Yeah, same thing.
Where would that revenue go?
That would, to be determined.
Okay.
Where would
I
you like
think-
for it to go?
Where would you like for it to go? You brought it up.
Well, I just think it would be a good revenue source for the senior center. And I think that,
Since I'm on the COG board, I have to agree with you.
well, I mean, it's, I know that would be, may not be what Mr. Powell wants to have happen, but
I mean, I just was curious.
I just think that going forward, revenues for the senior center and a lot of the nonprofits are going to be hard to come by.
Well, I don't have any opposition to it, I just would like to know which line item or which spot it's going into. And
We're a little ways from that.
yeah, okay, and that's fine.
And we'll bring it
I
back
think
to
it's a
this
good
board
idea.
for
I don't have
approval.
a problem with it. It's revenue and.
Well, I mean, I wasn't making any kind of accusations. I was just, I'm sure if Tracy was here, we'd have a different opinion, but, possibly. But, and, you know, maybe it needs to be handled a different way, but I do think that, there's probably $20,000-$25,000 a year of revenue potential there that somebody could use. They've had some calls for it in the past and not been able to offer it. So, but I do think that going forward, that would be some reoccurring revenue that, in my opinion, the senior center could use. But I guess how we use it can be determined. But I did want y'all to be thinking about it, just to see what kind of, what we do want to do with it. I think they're going to have to check on some insurance coverage and some other stuff. But anyway, it's being looked into, and I'd like for y'all to consider it going forward.
Another item that I've been working on with Commissioner Puryear, he is interested in having a text amendment proposed to the Junkyard Ordinance, which would fix some of the issues that we've been having with the screening requirements, which deciduous trees do not count as a screen from view. So his text amendment that he'd like to pursue would allow that the screening requirements only be required visible from a public road or from a school. So, for instance, the back or side of the property, if it could not be seen from the road, it would not necessarily need to be screened. So Kyle had asked me to bring that up tonight so that he could authorize staff to move forward with the text amendment. This has to go through the
I thought I brought that up
planning.
when we did that, because we were talking about people with farms who may pull stuff on the back of their farm.
This is a unique situation where you have, I'm not going to get into the details of, because I'm sure it's still got to go before the planning board, and we shouldn't issue an opinion on it, but it's a unique situation where if you have a resident actually lives behind someone, and there's some buffers, there's some trees, but there's also some more details that there may be using that ordinance for other reasons. So like I said, I'd like to, if this board would be willing to authorize staff to begin the process of reviewing that text amendment and have it presented to the planning board, and then back to us. It's nothing but good intentions. And Ray, you had brought it up a couple of years ago when we pursued it. I think this is more going alongside. This involves someone who actually has been in compliance with it and has done work, but however, there's other circumstances involved with it.
I would include church.
View from a church to be prohibited, like a screening would be a requirement, okay. from schools and churches.
If you do this, will you have to have a public hearing for a text amendment?
I'm sure we do.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just curious. Thought we did.
All right, anything else?
That's all, sir.
Any of
Thank
the
you.
commissioners got anything they want to bring up tonight?
I came off as chairman of the Community Action Advisory Council, which is Telemon, who I guess is receiving some of the community block grant money to do some workforce training. So I was chairman for 2 years of Person, Castle, and Rockingham. And they are getting some increased funds maybe to vamp up a little bit more in the counties. But they currently have no place to meet their clients here in Person County. And I think they've been meeting them at the library or at PCC. And I told them I would investigate if the county or PCC or someone had some type of space. It wouldn't be, you know, like an office space they would need every day, but they need some place to tell clients where to come, you know, on a regular basis where they can come and get their information. And I don't know what we have
Like the
available.
community space at the senior center.
We're doing the day, I'm sure they're doing meals, I don't know after meals. But I told them I would bring that to the board.
Okay.
Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?